Russian Revolution, Proletariat Taking a Stand Against the Bourgeoisie, by Brian Ronderos,
Matthew Locke,
and Milan Stepovich.
Morning class.
Today we're going to jump into our unit about the Russian Revolution. So here's a picture of Russia. As we see, the Russian Revolution was a civil war within Russia, with the proletariats versus, or the nobility versus the, pitted against the nobility and certain members of the nobility and the bourgeoisie. It was the leader at this time, Tsar Nicholas II, who was a poor leader, whose lack of sympathy towards his people, and in addition to the supposed faith healer having an alleged affair, the supposed faith healer Rasputin having an alleged affair with the Tsar and his wife, allowing him to influence her, sending Russia's government down a deeper hole. During lesson planning, I found a really good clip that can portray the actual Tsar's leadership during events such as the Bloody Sunday Massacre. So if you have any questions after the video, make sure to ask me after class.
Tsar Nicholas, sir. The peasants, they're storming in front of the Winter Palace, imploring us to give them better working conditions, and even to create an assembly.
Order the troops to fire into the crowds. We will not allow any revolts occurring on my soil.
I will inform them at once, sir.
We must take a stand against the Tsar in order to get what we need from his tight-fisted grasp.
Your Highness, the peasants, after this, revolts they'll be spreading up all across our lands.
Have the troops crush any resistance to be found. We will not allow these peasants to do any damage to our holdings.
I will alert them at once, sir.
So what this video was able to show us was how ruthless this man was during his leadership and how he took care of the Bloody Sunday Massacre. The people were infuriated with the government not only because of their inability to rule Russia effectively, but also because of the blatant internal conflict within House Romanov. This, coupled with very inadequate military leadership during World War I, brought Tsarist Russia to its knees in 1917, facing two separate revolutions.
And now, currently we have the flag of Imperialist Russia displayed, which was used between the years 1858 and 1917. In 1917, the Russian provisional government changed it to the Russian tricolor flag.
Now that we're into the Russian Civil War, we can see that once March of 1917 comes along, all the inadequacies within Russia's government start to come to a climax, and once on March 8th of 1917, the peasants start to plan a large march for bread on Petrograd. This point is really what begins to also shape modern Russia as a Eurasian superpower. Let's take a look at this clip so we can actually see what these marches would look like.
The Tsar is no good to rule our country, and neither is our government. We want our bread and we want our rights, or we will take further action.
Tsar Nicholas, the peasants, they're taking the streets of Petrograd en masse, protesting our government. What do we do?
Order the troops to disperse the crowds. Violent or peaceful, these peasants are ruining my city!
I will alert them at once, Tsar.
Okay, let me pause right there. As you can see from his actions here, you can see the Tsar did not really care for his people. Violence on the part of the troops would make the people take a more violent, more forceful stand in order to get what they felt was the best for Russia.
The Tsar is sending his armies to suppress us, to quell our voices. We must not allow this. We must take a stand against the oppressive rule of the Tsar. We must overthrow the government.
The Tsar's troops would bat the revolutionaries for 4 days of brutal fighting, to which the government would finally cave after Tsar Nicholas II would give up his throne to his brother Michael, who would then give up the throne to the revolters. Once they had gotten power, they would instate a fragile provisional government for the short time period. And, let me see real quick. They would set up this new provisional government, and the outcome punched the need for changing many, however, would leave them unsatisfied with the lengths the movement had gone on, which is where we see the Siberian exile of Vladimir Lenin come into play with one of his many speeches in order to kind of bring the people back together.
30 years ago, my brother Alexander was executed for trying to assassinate the oppressive Tsar. And I know each and every one of you has lost something to the oppressive Tsar and his government. And now the bourgeoisie, they offer us a blatantly counter-revolutionary government. But us proletarians know better. We must overthrow the social caste and bring everyone to the same position. We must not allow this new provisional government to bring forth another version of our previous government. We must take a stand. We as the proletariat must take a stand against the bourgeoisie, against the provisional government, to create an equal society. With me, we can create a better Russia, For peace, land, and bread. Builushego Rossi, dole pravitelstvo.
Locke Rossi.
After this, Lenin would rally his Bolshevik party with his allies and stage a virtually bloodless coup d'etat on November 6th and 7th of 1917. Also, it's called the October Revolution because the Russian calendar at this time was set 1 month backwards. That's why here it says November 6th. Here it says October. They would stage this virtually bloodless coup d'etat by occupying important government buildings in Petrograd in addition to important political regions. After seizing control, they would put Lenin into leadership and establish the first communist government the world had ever seen. Although this would not mark the end of Russia's struggles, the people would become greatly divided, leading to the emergence of the two separate crime groups, the Mensheviks and Bolsheviks.
The flag I will now have displayed is a Soviet flag which was used in 1920 once the Bolsheviks finally took power in Russia's government. The hammer represents the factory workers and the sickle represents the farm workers of Russia.
Now that we've gotten into the Russian Civil War, I feel like it would be best if we were to introduce some of the key figures in this, such as the leader of the White Army, Alexander Kolchak, who was an Arctic explorer but also a strong military leader during the Russo-Japanese War. He would become opposed to the Bolsheviks and create a force in opposition against them, the Mensheviks. Here's a speech from him.
I have led our great country to battle and even been taken as a prisoner of war. Though what have these peasants done? They may farm for themselves and to sell. And while they may have these agricultural skills, they have no right or place in government. And now, the Bolsheviks have taken control of our country without permission or good reason. They will destroy Russia if we do not do anything about it. We must take a stand against these Bolshevik hordes. Россия – это наше, ее святет, это дикари стета.
Destroy the Red Army.
Now, in 1918, the Russian Civil War started with Leon Trotsky, the Red Army led by Leon Trotsky. He would be fighting against the White Army led by Alexander Kolchak, which you already know, but he would then die and be followed by Pyotr Nikolaevich Wrangel after Kolchak's death in battle. It was at this time that we also see the Bolsheviks would be forced to take a stand for their own people. I feel it's fair, since after we introduce Alexander Kolchak in one of his speeches, it would be appropriate if we were to also introduce Leon Trotsky and give an example of his spectrum on the political scale.
I have spent 2 years in Siberia only because I helped found the South Workers' Union. I was sent there because the Tsar, he does not want us proletariats to have rights. After all, why would he want to share the luxury of eating well and the warmth of proper clothing with us proletariats? After all, we are starving out here in the streets, freezing. That is why we brought down the oppressive Tsar. But now we face a new enemy, the White Army. They want to take our revolution, put it to shame, and dissolve us. But as a group, we must stand united to defend our ideals from those savages. Comrades, we will create the equal society like we have dreamed. Together, we will stand against the White Army. And no matter how high they stand before us, we shall always stand higher for peace, land, and bread, for Russia!
La Rossi!
That's accurate. The Russian Civil War is the point in time in which we see Leon Trotsky really come to power as leader of the Red Army, urging his people with his fanatical and nationalistic views, urging people to fight for Russia. After 2 years, the White Army would finally be defeated in Crimea, leading to the establishment of the USSR. The Russian peasantry would take multiple stands over the course of 15 years, causing them many lives and much suffering. But they would come out of this era with one of the most interesting and most powerful countries to come out of the 20th century, and one of the most interesting stories of taking a stand in the 20th century.
The Russian Revolution became an important aspect of the 20th and 21st centuries. It gave an example to the impoverished people of the world that they would not have to live in poor conditions while the people above them would live well. This led to a country such as China to revolt against their government and form the People's Republic of China.
In 1962, this was also true. North Vietnam tried to make South Vietnam communist, but the United States intervened due to the Truman Doctrine, which was introduced directly after World War II.
We also would have had events such as the Cuban Missile Crisis, as when Fidel Castro took power, he instated communist ideals into the country as a direct threat to the neighbors to North America.
In addition to today's modern struggle with countries such as North Korea as a totalitarian communist regime threatening Western democracies and capitalist countries with nuclear power.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What surprises did you guys find about Stalin?
We didn't really quite go as far as Stalin because though of course we did research him as he is obviously part of the Soviet Union, and we did interview one of the people we interviewed. We did ask about Stalin and how he did add on to the downfall of the Soviet Union, but he just didn't have a lot to do with the Soviet, or with the
actual
formation.
revolution
Yes,
that started to create the USSR, which is what our project is about. We centralized on that topic because in our minds that is the Russian Revolution. That's what created the USSR.
Though I do have to say, we were kind of surprised to find out that Joseph Stalin was the bookkeeper of the Bolshevik Party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that your script and just the way that you did your performance was really creative. How did you decide that? How did you go about it?
Well, we decided to do a performance because, especially with our script, as you can see with the crates, we needed to be radical. The Russian Revolution was very much a radical revolution and an event in history. The Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks were a party based on the same ideals. However, the Bolshevik Party wanted much more rapid change. The Mensheviks insisted on this gradual change over time. However, the Bolsheviks catered more to what the peasantry wanted at the time, which was immediate change and food for themselves and their families.
And we felt that by having a teacher tell the story of it, it would in a sense create a more of a. We felt it was the best way to explain the Russian Revolution because there's so much that goes on, and
So many jumps in time.
yeah, we
Between all
can't
these
really just
events.
have a consecutive or a consecutive stream of events.
It was
So-
more seamless in the way we delivered it. That's
Yeah,
what he's trying to say.
we're also kind of captivated with some of the characters, such as Lenin and Trotsky. They're really bombastic, they're crazy people. So we really wanted to show them, just because it'd be fun.
So you talked about how the sort of the origins of the Tsar were due to, you call it inadequacies in Russian society at the time. Can you explain that a little bit, or how did you sort of, how did you learn about that?
Well, we learned about it in our AP European class. We were taught and we learned that Tsar Nicholas was a very, very poor leader, and his stature as well was very poor. He was a smaller man and he didn't set the portrait for a strong leader.
He's really unfit. to
Yes.
lead Russia.
So, for example, he would go and lead his troops on the front lines.
It's all like Louis XVI.
Yes. Yeah, he would lead his troops on the front lines, however, his stature did not match Tsar image of the ideal Tsar, so he lost very much support from his troops.
I guess I'm thinking, we think of this as a popular uprising.
Yeah, it very much
Yes.
so was.
So clearly there was some discontent within the populace.
Well,
What was the source of that?
part of it was due to the rapid industrialization right before the 1905 Bloody Sunday Massacre, because Russia all of a sudden just started industrializing their country, and that led to in the industrial revolution era of Western Europe or Eastern Europe, no, Western Europe, my bad. That was over a span of 100 years. So they were able to figure out what was going to work and what wasn't going to work in the course of 100 years. Russia did this in the course of about 20 years. So they had massive famine and massive, massive overworking of the people without proper labor laws.
To add on to that, in addition, there was an increased wage gap because with industrialization, especially in the capitalist sense, which is what these countries were before they all converted to socialism, or not all of them obviously, but anyways, that made increased wage gaps to the already impoverished Russian peasantry. So they were already extremely poor, but this industrialization, it was maybe like this, now it's like this. It's much lower. Much lower, I meant much lower the poverty. That's what
So can you just quickly explain like how you went about your research? Did you kind of start by just saying you wanted to focus on like one aspect of the revolution? How did you come to?
Well, we first started off by gathering a wide array of sources. We went from speeches to documents and bibliographies on the characters of interest for our play. And once we did that, we would narrow down the search between what do we need for Lenin, what do we need for the teacher, what do we need for the people. We went out and found pictures of peasantry uprisings and marches in Petrograd, as you saw.
Which is really cool because
Yeah.
like this is during early 19th century, so or 1900s, so we get to see actual photographs of these events happening.
Such as Rasputin there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially those people. Don't want to see that face.
Looks like you guys had fun doing this.
Yes, we did. It was a lot of fun. A lot of, banging on the crates. That's fun.
Great, well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.